Hello everyone, welcome to Jerez. And this is Coppa Shell Am Race 2 of the weekend as part of round 3 here in Spain. So we are reaching the midway point of our season then, having been to Mugello and Balaton. Here we are in Spain in Jerez. And up next we go to Portimao, then La Casale, then it's Nürburgring and Imola at the middle of October for our final round, round 7, and of course the finale Mondiali event as well. That's our calendar for 2024, and that is how it looks. So here we are with the sun shining and the temperature rising. This is the track, 4.4 kilometers, 13 or 14 turns, depending on how you count them. And it's a real test for our drivers, quite undulating as well. Quite a technical and demanding circuit, and even more demanding in the temperatures that we have here in Spain this afternoon. In fact, it's been the case all weekend long. Track temperature 50 degrees, air temperature 38 degrees. Yep, that's hot. And imagine what it's like to be in the cockpit of the Ferrari 296 cars of our Coppa Shell Am drivers that take to the track for their 30-minute plus 1 lap race. Well, good luck to them. That's all I can say. So down on the grid, as opposed to the brilliant Shack Attack song, which was down on the street, we are with Josef Schumacher, and now with Hassan Dabusi. And alongside me, just before I pass out from heat stroke, is Nico Speller. I mean, this air conditioning is working very hard, but it's not working.
Thankfully. Oh, well. Just imagine if we turned it off entirely. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and we are enjoying Jerez here in Spain. We're enjoying really a taste of summer on our southern tour. We've been to Balaton at Hungary, holiday destination. We're here at Jerez, south of Spain, holiday destination. We'll go to the south of Portugal, holiday destination. Oh, the south of France as well with La Casale. It's just a teaser. We will have much more of that. The Moodle Tarzovka, and they use, as you can see, all sorts of measures to keep themselves, the drivers, cool. And it is a hot one, no question about it.
Yep, it is. And it's going to be hot for our 20 drivers out there on track, including Andrea Levi, who will be going from P4 on the grid in the 171 car, which is engineered by Rosso Corsa. And, yeah, he's cool, calm and collected. I have to say, the Ferrari Challenge 296 car is equipped with very, very good air conditioning. It's kind of just as well, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And the drivers, yesterday after the race, wasn't quite as hot, but it was very, very similar. They still look very energized, which is a great credit to them, which is a great credit to the Ferrari 296. And we hope that we get a thrilling race just like yesterday, because that was really a very, very entertaining and a good one. And we're just 5.5 minutes away from the race getting underway. I mean, everything is being used to get as much shade. I'm not even going to use the word cool, but not hellish hot is probably the best you can hope for. The 120 car in short is the Guy 4 car, or Guy Fawe, our Belgian entry from Scuderia FMA. He will go from P12, the 6th row of the grid. And there in the background, you can see the podium. That's obviously where all the drivers aspire to end up at the end of the race. All the way to Luis Perusquia, who in P20 is bringing up the rear. But in the Ferrari Challenge, we've said it a lot of times. I'm going to say it again. In the Ferrari Challenge, anything can happen. A lot of things will.
Indeed, if the Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli Am race, which was on just a few minutes ago, is anything to go by, expect the unexpected. Because, as my colleague alongside me says, anything can happen, and it probably will. Oh, that's a lovely piece of art from our cameraman. Well done. That looks awesome. What a great shot that is. I was looking at the tyre trolleys. There wasn't a wet weather tyre on any of the trolleys, Nico. It's very rare that you see the tyre trolleys out there without wets on.
Yeah, that's true.
Just in case, but I really think it's completely unnecessary.
I think our friends at Pirelli kind of brought a few token rain tyres when they saw the forecast. Now, obviously they brought the full complement, but I don't think that they really took them out with any intention of them being used. And I think the teams took a very similar attitude to it. The forecast had been 0% rain percentage over Friday, Saturday and Sunday. There was some rain early in the week, to be honest, around Tuesday, Wednesday, but since we arrived Thursday morning, there has been no trace of any precipitation here.
Precipitation is exactly the right word to use, thank you. You do things properly, don't you?
And we're 3 minutes away from the start, and you know, I think the drivers will actually look forward to getting the race underway, because being stationary on the straight with no sense of wind or anything to distract them from the heat is probably one of the tougher moments. Once we get going, it probably gets, at least psychologically, gets a little bit easier.
You're right. Okay. One of our brilliant racers hails from America, and that is Lisa Clark.
I'm starting my 8th season in the Challenge Series, and I tell you, it's a hard drug to quit, because there's so much that this series has to offer in North America and Europe. And I enjoy every minute I'm in these cars. I mean, Ferrari, to know that I'm actually racing a Ferrari is pretty incredible at this stage in my life. First time here, so I haven't had much time on the circuit, but I did manage to get the 2 tests in today, so really happy about that. I really do enjoy the circuit here. It's kind of roller coaster vibe, lots of twists and turns, lots of momentum to carry through fast turns. The 296, it's quicker. The car is incredible. They've really made a really good change. I think more proper race car. And for amateurs, it's a lot to handle, but I'm learning every time I'm in that car. Okay, my favorite moment is crossing that checker. It really kind of can get emotional, because you've really worked hard this whole weekend that you're here, and that's just kind of the moment that I just kind of really take it all in and really grateful for it.
And Lisa Clark won the Coppa Am Championship in North America last year. Richly deserved, and chooses to race in both North America and in Europe as well. A very well-traveled and well-respected racing driver who, following a debut in the Ferrari Challenge, as you just heard many years ago, absolutely loves it and is such a good driver. Well done, Lisa Clark. Always a pleasure to have you on the grid. And, well, she is going to be going from P18 on the grid today, so we'll see how she copes. The front row, Zoe Skrimpias and Andreas Koenig. They will be getting this 30-minute plus 1 lap race underway very soon. We will bring you the grid in full as the Richard Mille safety car leads the cars away on the formation lap around this 4.4 kilometer circuit here in Jerez de la Frontera. Under the UFO then, that is actually a lounge up there that spans the start-finish straight, and here's the grid in full. Zoe Skrimpias another pole position. Andreas Koenig will fight from P2. To the second row, where we find Jan Sandman, a brilliant qualifying from Jan, and Andrea Levy alongside. Shintaro Akatsu and Eric Chung, they're on the third row of the grid, 2 danger men there. And then Talal Shaher and Stephen Earle go from P7 and P8. P9 for Mutlu Tarsev and Josef Schumacher going from P10 on the grid. Then it's Paolo Scudieri and Guy Favet They are P11 and P12 as we go to the 7th row where we find Henrik Kamstrup and Roland Hurtner. Then it's Maurizio Vittori and Alvaro Ramos, P15 and 16. Assad Debussy and Lisa Clark, who we heard from just a few moments ago, complete row 9, and Franz Kevitz and Louis Peruskia go from P19 and P20, Nico. And there we have it, the grid in full. We are going to hear from our driver that in qualifying managed to put the car on a pole position once again. And yeah, let's hear from him. What does he have to say? Zois Skrimpias.
It was a super difficult quali. Until the end, I didn't know if I had the pole. I did a lot of mistakes. But at the end, I had a clean lap. So for the race, I have my friend Andrea in my back. So definitely it will be super, super tough to keep him in my back as I like. But we will definitely enjoy and we will have a super nice race. Thank you guys. Thank you. Bye.
He took the Rotiform pole position award and he goes from P1, Nico, making their way through the chicane now. What is going through their minds, do you think?
Well, each of the drivers have their own routines. Everybody has a different strategy how to focus, and it obviously depends on where you are on the grid. Zois will certainly be looking just to focus everything, nail the start when the lights go out, and all the other drivers, they have to look at themselves, at each other. For Zois, it's really only the lights and running through the grid boxes. That has been a little bit of an issue for some drivers this weekend. So the drivers have to run through the grid boxes side by side, and when the lights go out, they can attack and get their moves on.
Well, Andreas Koenig then and Zois Skrimpias are on the front row of the pack. All the cars should be in 2 lines together, and they're certainly not. Josef Schumacher out of line as the lights go out. Let's go racing, and I said Shintaro Akatsu could be dangerous right at the start of the race, and sure enough he puts himself alongside Jan Sandman. And then Andrea Levy following in P5 position, but Zois Skrimpias did a good job in terms of getting away. Just a bit of dust kicked up from the back of the pack, but I think everyone is away perfectly okay. Roland Hurtner dropping several places. It may have been him that ran wide. He's right at the back of the pack right now as Josef Schumacher puts the chase on to Stephen Earle, I believe. There is Andrea Levy chasing down the car of Shintaro Akatsu. So as they roll downhill now in these very, very challenging conditions by dint of the heat, you can see that Jan Sandman is in that P3 position. If you look at the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen. So Zois Skrimpias from Andreas Koenig. Then Sandman and Akatsu. So now all seeming to gap themselves a little bit. So I did say that Shintaro Akatsu would be one to watch right at the start of this race. Now what do you do here? What have your team done? Have they set the car up so it comes good in the second half of the race with regards to tyre temps and pressures, or have they set it for an early attack? Only the drivers know the answer to that question. As we're about to put the first lap in the book then, Zois Skrimpias leading by about a second and a half over Andreas Koenig, who is P2. Then it is Jan Sandman, P3, ahead of Shintaro Akatsu, who's being really chased by Andrea Levy for the P4 position. Kamstrup, I think, has dropped down the order we can see from the left-hand side of the screen, and also Franz Kewitz, make that Franz Kewitz only. Henrik Kamstrup, just a problem with the transponder for a moment, giving us wrong information on our timing screen, but Henrik Kamstrup now is P15. This is Andrea Levy then, and just taking a look at the inside is Talal Sher. Eric Chung, of course, is there. Tarsev, all of these drivers. As Eric Chung takes a look at the inside here, and that's a move and a determined move by Eric Chung on the 134 car of Luglu Tarsev. Eric Chung going through, making up a place. And now he'll put the chase on to Andrea Levy, who is running in P5. So, well, in these temperatures, drivers did a good job in terms of getting away, I think, Nico, and I rather wondered whether the start might be under investigation, but absolutely not, according to race control. They're perfectly happy.
Yeah, definitely looks like it, and I'm sure we will get a replay of the start before too long. It did look like, as you said, Josef Schumacher looked very much central on the start-finish straight, but, you know, if you ran at least partially through the grid boxes, then he is okay. So apparently race control have deemed that was the case, and indeed, here is a replay of the start.
So you can see at this point, Andreas Koenig ahead. He has to ease up to allow Zoe Skrimpias to get alongside. And as the cars roar away then, very, very lively indeed right at the start of the race was Shintaro Akatsu. You can see here, he really dived to the middle and got by Andrea Levy, and was also taken it to Jan Sandman. Jan Sandman was absolutely determined to defend his P3 place going into turn number 1. And that's precisely what he did, and Shintaro Akatsu having to take a much wider line through there. And there you can see that dust being kicked up as the drivers had to take to the inside of that turn. This all in replay then of the start. And there is the Henrik Kamstrup car, the metallic blue, and Lisa Clark running around the outside. And that's the way it looked in replays of the start. So Andreas Koenig is under a bit of a pressure now for his P2 place, as Jan Sandman is getting a bit closer to him. For Zoe Skrimpias, he's just, well, rubbing his hands with soap and getting up the road, isn't he, at 1.5 seconds. Fastest lap comes from Eric Chung. Eric Chung running in P6 at the moment, with Shintaro Akatsu ahead. This is the fight going on for P3. Andreas Koenig then, sorry, the fight going on for P2. Andreas Koenig is P2, Jan Sandman is P3, and Jan Sandman, Nico, is all over the back of Andreas Koenig. His car certainly in this stage of the race looks to have a bit of a pace advantage. Andreas Koenig then running in P2, and of course part of the reason that Zoe Skrimpias is able to get up the road so well is because Andreas Koenig is really involved in that little fight that's going on to protect his P2 place, and he's not able to get on terms with Zoe Skrimpias. Yes,
of course, and he really has to think a little bit about defending, and that just compromises his speed in certain parts of the track a little bit. Andrea Levy, as we saw, has overtaken Shintaro Akatsu and is back in his original P4 position. And Eric Chung's pace really, really good. He, as you said, set the fastest lap. That has been usurped by Zoe Skrimpias, who is now the quickest. And now Eric Chung is, I think, has overtaken Shintaro Akatsu, and that is the previous move of Andrea Levy against the same driver.
Yeah, got a slingshot, didn't he, off the turn, got to the inside, was able to go through on Shintaro Akatsu. So that puts Andrea Levy then in the position that he is in, also having put himself ahead of Eric Chung, and now he's chasing down Jan Sandman, which would be great news for Andreas Koenig, because if all of a sudden Jan Sandman is really rather busy having to defend from Andrea Levy, that means that Andreas Koenig can try and get a bit closer to Zoe Skrimpias, and Zoe's, though, 2 seconds up the road. And this, I think, is why Jan Sandman is looking so determined in the early stages of this race to try and unseat the Gome Motorsport House Racing Team driver that's running P2 at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, for him it would be great if he could get by Andreas Koenig, and then it would be up to Koenig and Levy to battle, and he would be in the position to get up the road. But I mean, Jan Sandman really, really good qualifying. His best qualifying in Ferrari Challenge Europe ever, and he really converted that into P3 at the start of the race. Really, really cool, calm and collected, and certainly not lacking pace in the early stages of the race.
Very fair points well made there. As these three, it becomes a three-way party for P2 almost. So Skrimpias disappearing from the bottom of your screen as race leader, and actually it's not going to be many moments before it becomes a four-way fight for P2, because Eric Chung wants to get into this invitation-only gathering from Koenig, from Sandman, and Andrea Levy in pursuit of so doing has set the fastest lap, and Eric Chong is not far behind either. So it's going to get very, very busy for that P2 place momentarily. 22 minutes plus a lap remaining, so just 8 minutes of this race done and dusted, and Koenig then driving a perfect line, and of course he can protect his track position and drive a line accordingly. Something that we will just keep an eye on will be track limits. The only one of this little group, if you like, that's got a track limits warning, I think, is Andrea Levy. You get 3 warnings, but on the 4th warning you pick up a time penalty. It has impacted just about all the races here at Jerez over the course of the weekend. Track limits, I think it's fair to say, and it might yet affect this one.
Indeed, although Coppa yesterday was the cleanest of them all, with only 4 warnings across the entire grid. And, let's see if we can keep it at a similar level. Andreas Koenig, he would so dearly love to get up the road and focus on his sprinters, but he really has to focus on the rear. But Jan Sandman there with a mistake on the exit of that turn, and that all of a sudden releases Andreas Koenig. Sorry for jinxing that, Jan, but I'm sure he will pick himself up and anew his acquaintance with the rear bumper of Andreas Koenig.
I think you're right. What of course it has done is it's brought Andrea Levy and Eric Chung ever closer to him and brought them into play for this. As I said, it's going to be a 4-way fight for P2. For the moment, Andreas Koenig has got a 7/10 margin of relief, I would suggest. But as you quite rightly said, Jan Sandman has picked the pace up now and is beginning to return to being right on the gearbox of the car of Andreas Koenig. Down the long straight here, and it is downhill into this right-hander. Andreas Koenig we see going through, and Jan Sandman getting very, very close indeed. But the back end of the Jan Sandman car just stepping out a little bit, and that causing him not to have the fastest way around the turn. There's Eric Chung, the driver of the 198 car, having taken P2 yesterday in a race win at Balaton in the first race at Balaton. He's having a good time of it in the Ferrari Challenge Coppa for 2024, and he wants to continue his big points haul. And the further he can get up the road, the more likely he is to add a meaningful number to his points tally. Whilst all that's going on, so is Scrimpias just continuing to nibble away at the gap and increase it to 2.269 seconds. We've got a yellow flag at turn 6, and the reason for that is the 166 car of Frank Skevitz has gone into the barriers. Now, I suspect all on his own, losing the back end of the car. It snaps away, makes contact with the barriers. Afraid to say, Nico, this is going to be a safety car where that car is situated.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, you really have to be very, very early on the throttle coming out of the turn, and that just appeared to be just that fraction of a moment too early. And indeed, for the moment, we have a yellow flag, probably to allow the drivers to complete the rest of the lap to at race speed, and they've just started a new lap, so it's at least going to be one more lap until the safety car can pick them up.
Josef Schumacher's out as well, Nico.
Oh, and now we've got 2 drivers out, and the safety car has indeed now been released.
Is that? Forgive me.
Yes, that is Josef Schumacher. Indeed, it is. Very colourful livery, but stationary in the gravel. And there is a replay.
So, Josef Schumacher there, and well, there was quite a battle going on there, wasn't there?
Yeah, but I would say that it was indeed a battle, and you can see that it wasn't only Josef Schumacher, but also I think Roland Hurtner who was involved in that, and he also went around, avoided the gravel trap, and therefore was able to continue. And always sad to see some of our contestants not being able to finish the race, but I think race control will for sure have a look at that. That to me looked like a little bit of a racing incident, both of them battling and not yielding, and yeah, sometimes it works and sometimes it just doesn't.
So by my reckoning, we've got 3 cars to recover. We have the car of Franz Kevitz, the car of Josef Schumacher, maybe the car of Roland Hurtner. No, that appears to have escaped up the road, so Roland Hurtner is okay, so just 2 cars to recover. Basically what happens here, the gravel traps are very, very soft. The reason for that is when the car enters the gravel trap, you want the gravel trap to do its work, which is to slow the car right down. So that's why even if you walk across the gravel trap, it's like walking in mud almost, isn't it? Your feet sink into the gravel. That's designed that way, Nico, in old school circuits or on old school circuits like this one. And that is to absorb the speed and scrub the speed off. So the driver that's running P2 at the moment is the Gome Motorsport Haupt Racing driver, Andreas Koenig. Let's hear from him right now.
So I fell in love with actually Ferrari already since I was a kid. What are my thoughts before I start a race or on the grid? I'm more on the, I try to compensate my nervousness with being funny. So I make jokes with the team, and that actually calms me down. And then the last few 2-3 minutes, I just close my eyes and try to go through the circuit once more to not be surprised in the first lap. So how do I feel to be here as a Ferrari driver? Actually, it's kind of my childhood dreams coming true. Being able to do what I always thought I wanted to do, which is racing a beautiful car. And it's so much fun, I tell you, even though sometimes it gets difficult, but it's so much fun. And the 296 is an incredible car. It's so forgiving and so beautiful to drive, which allows me to go closer to my limit than with any other car before. So that's what my passion is.
Thanks for talking to us, Andreas Koenig. He's a great fun guy, and I can attest to the fact that he likes to tell jokes. He is Superman, and he's in P2. And Nico, actually, he might be feeling good about this safety car because, of course, it does allow him, when we go back to racing, to have reduced the gap potentially from Zois Skrimpias to himself.
Yeah, absolutely. In the Andreas Koenig wishing well, there is something that says that Jan Sapman and Andrea Levy will start fighting, and he has a good jump on Zois Skrimpias and thereby has a chance to attack for P1. That's how he would like it. It's not necessarily what everybody else would agree with, and what I hope we can all agree is that it's good that Josef Schumacher has been able to continue, obviously having lost lots of time. That is not the case for Frank Kevitz, but obviously both of them okay, which is always the most important thing. Of course, with the integral safety of the 296 Challenge and all the Ferrari Challenge cars in the history of this wonderful championship, it was never in doubt, but always good to see.
Yes, it is. So Zois Skrimpias, our race leader, ahead of Andreas Koenig and Jan Sandman. It's a reset time because the safety car is out for the recovery of the Franz Kevitz car. Now, I just want to make a point, Nico, that Josef Schumacher having returned to the track, well, the recovery team have done a very good job because the safety car's coming in at the end of this lap. There might be a bit of gravel laying around the track, which could unsettle some of these cars. We will see.
Yeah, although this is exactly the spot, and there is the very, very quick work by our track.
See, in my day, it would have been a brew.
That's technology.
That's being old.
That's technology, and not all technology comes in the beautiful shape of a 296 Challenge, and that was one example, but it does its work and it will provide a clean racing surface, and at the end of the day, or at the end of this lap actually, that's the most important thing, because then is when the safety car will come in, and we'll probably have around 11 minutes or so plus a lap remaining, or a little bit more actually, which is good, and which will give us the opportunity to watch some more great Ferrari Challenge racing.
Indeed so. And, here are opportunities for the likes of Eric Chong and Andrea Levy and Jan Sandman and Andreas Koenig. And Josef Schumacher returns his car to the pit lane. And regrettably, I think it's probably going to be a retirement for him. Zoe Skrimpias will back them up. It will be the responsibility of Zoe Skrimpias to control the pace of the restart. When the safety car comes in, the safety car accelerates now with Sandro at the wheel of that 296 safety car. And so Andreas Koenig needs to try and anticipate when he thinks Andreas Koenig is going to give it an absolute footful on the loud pedal, which he does right now. Safety car into the pit lane. Andreas Koenig has got away well. Jan Sandman seemed to anticipate when everyone was going to go for it very well. He's quite close to Andreas Koenig. Andrea Levy runs a bit wide. Now no overtaking until you've been by the safety car line. Here comes Eric Chung on Andrea Levy, advantaged by the fact that Andrea Levy just dropped a wheel into the gravel. That means Eric Chung almost goes through, but it's on the dirtier outside line. But he is able to go through on Andrea Levy. So Eric Chung moves up to P4. Good move. Took advantage of the fact that Andrea Levy exiting turn number 1 on the restart just got the car into the gravel a little bit, and that was just enough for Eric Chung to be able to take advantage of that. So it is Zoe Skrimpias from Andreas Koenig and Jan Sandman, and now Eric Chung running in P4. He will try and get onto the back end of the Jan Sandman car very quickly as Andrea Levy has got the inside line on Andreas Koenig here. So Andreas Koenig on the inside of Zoe Skrimpias, as I called that completely wrong. It's heat haze, you know. Andreas Koenig is leading this race over Zoe Skrimpias. So he just got a perfect exit out of the turn, Nico, put it to the inside, and then it was a drag race all the way to the next turn, but of course he had the inside line then.
Yeah, absolutely, and it kind of felt like ever since the restart that Andreas Koenig his car was just handling just that little bit better. Now, will that be the same for the rest of the 10 minutes plus a lap? We don't know, but certainly the restart went exactly down the Andreas Koenig wishing well, certainly when his positioning was concerned. And now Jan Sandman might feel like, oh, is there an opportunity to also make a move? It's Koenig, Skrimpias, Sandman, Chung, Levy, and Akatsu are top 6.
So Skrimpias is trying to come back at Andreas Koenig here as they make the run up to turn number 1. Look at this, they are absolutely almost welded together. Andreas Koenig leading. Zoe Skrimpias tries to show his face to the inside. Under braking, Andreas Koenig controls the turn perfectly, gets the car rotated well. And Zoe Skrimpias going to have to work really, really hard here, having had the lead taken away from him by Andreas Koenig. However, he is absolutely sticking with him here and trying to get involved in this. Also is Jan Sandman, but the pace these two have got at the front is remarkable, doing very, very well here. Just under 10 minutes plus a lap remaining. I think probably the best opportunity Zoe Skrimpias had to come back has probably gone away. This is how Andreas Koenig did it then. So all the way, and he had the inside line. You could see Zoe Skrimpias was ready to turn in, but the gap that he wanted to turn into was filled of the Andreas Koenig car. So now it does become a three-way fight for P1. If everything finished the way it is right now, Zoe Skrimpias would be on 94 points, Andreas Koenig would be on 72 points in the Drivers' Championship. Still a lot of racing to be done before the conclusion of our 2024 championship. And this race, race 2 here at the Jerez circuit, is being led by Andreas Koenig ahead of Zoe Skrimpias. And then it is Jan Sandman. So Skrimpias seems to be able to get closer through the very technical parts of the track, Nico.
Yes, 100%. It looked like when on the long straight, so across the start-finish straight, and then that winding part through sector 1, that's where Andreas Koenig just is quicker, and that's just probably a down-to setup, more or less downforce. And there again, you know, on the straight where you want to overtake, that's where Andreas Koenig has the advantage. And there is Jan Sandman to the inside. He's going to give it a go, and Zoe Skrimpias.
How did he get that car rotated? He did, though.
And Skrimpias really careful driving, didn't want to risk a collision, and again, very respectful between Skrimpias and Eric Chung.
So, there's Andrea Levy and Eric Chung was very nearly gifted the opportunity as well, but what a good move from Jan Sandman. He came from a long way back and he was carrying so much speed. I was really concerned that he was going to be able to rotate the car through the turn, but he obviously had confidence in the grip available to him, and in fairness, he was tight through that turn. Racing room was left by Zoe Skrimpias to give him credit, but good move from Jan Sandman. I have to say, Nico, some of the best driving we've seen from Jan Sandman since he joined the Ferrari Challenge has come this weekend. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's on for his first podium in the European Challenge, or is he? We're about 6 minutes, 50 seconds plus a lap away from knowing the answer to that, but certainly right now he's running in P2. Track limits not an issue for any of our top drivers, save for Andrea Levy, who's already had 3 warnings, but all the others in the top 4 have a clean slate. Well, I say that, Eric Chung has 1 warning.
Just look at this, Nico. Look, he's tracking him. He sells him a dummy. He sells him a dummy. Didn't see that necessarily on the original picture that we saw. So he did what Henry Hassid did in a previous race. He went to the outside. Zois went to defend. And he said, thanks very much. I'm coming to the inside now.
Yeah, and then Zois saw the Jan Sandman car fairly late, but he did see him, and I mean, he's driving with his head. We have said it before. He is a rookie, but he's so good. He's so strong, and in such a situation, it would be so easy to make a mistake and just turn in. And
oh no! After having just done such a good job, Nico, Jan Sandman is beached in the gravel. So it's at turn 13, and Jan Sandman had done a brilliant job of getting past Zoe Skrimpias, but hopefully we'll get him replay very quickly what happened to Jan Sandman. Here it comes.
Through the chicane, first corner, second corner. Still looks fine, and that's the exit of the chicane.
Piling on the opposite lock, Nico.
Yeah.
I reckon the curb's just unsettling the car. That's good avoidance by Zoe Skrimpias. Here we can see it from a different angle. I reckon he just caught the curb on the exit, and that was enough.
Actually, didn't even go over the curbs, I think, and it's just maybe there was just a little bit of a different line, and very unfortunate in any event. It's Jan Sandman has done such a great job thus far, and the safety car is out, and with 4 minutes 50 seconds.
That's going to be tight, isn't it?
That's going to be tight. Maybe they will just get them in. I mean, there is 1 extra lap after the clock hits 0, so you might get that 1 lap dash for the finish line. That might still be in store for us, but there is the Richard Mille safety car awaiting the drivers.
So Andreas Koenig, Zoe Skrimpias, now Eric Chung, P3. Oh, what a shame for Jan Sandman. He had really put a brilliant overtake on Zoe Skrimpias, and then unfortunately just losing out that chicane at turn 13, where the car turned around in the gravel. It's all part of motorsport. Rich tapestry of learning, I'm tempted to say, Nico. Jan is out of the car and he's perfectly okay. He'll be disappointed, but his day will come again, as the recovery team work very quickly on getting that Ferrari 296 out of the gravel bed to the live championship. 91 points in P1, Zoe Skrimpias if it all finishes now. Andreas Koenig P2, Eric Chung P3.
And indeed, there is not a lot of time. It's too late in the lap to get the safety car in at the end of this lap, but it's, I think, probably, well, it's very likely that they will get the safety car in at the end of this lap, I meant to say, because they've been working really, really quick. They have to announce it generally by the end of Sector 2, so that's where we will know. We're just at the end of Sector 1.
Look, there's Manuel Reuter, who is, of course, the boss of the Go Motorsport Haupt Racing team, and there is Mrs. C. Chung. Fingers crossed for husband Eric, who is out there running in P3 at the moment, and there's Andreas, who is boss of the Rosso Corsa team, and the Reparto Corsa Ram team, of course, represented by the driver that is currently sitting in P2, and that is Zoe Skrimpias. Nice little bit of work then from our production crew in terms of bringing us some of the glitterati, if you will, from inside the garages, Nico. They never blooming well come in here, do they? Funny that. So, Andreas Koenig, no, I don't mean that. Andreas Koenig, the state of undress I'm in because of the temperatures. Andreas Koenig, Zoe Skrimpias, Eric Chung. Stick to the script, Dave. Then it's Andrea Levy.
And there is still the safety car out with the lights on, so it does mean there will be another lap behind the safety car. I think that our prediction that it will be this +1 lap, that will be a green flag lap.
I think
it
you're
will
right.
come good. And I mean, do you want some more drama? Just to finish off the weekend, give us 1 lap for all the glory.
Okay. I think we're gonna, you know, you obviously have a direct link to the drama team here. Safety car is going to come in at the conclusion of this lap. So just pass over my lottery numbers to you, I think, because you seem to know everything. It's terribly irritating. Andreas Koenig, yes, Eric Chung, you know what I mean. The lights will go out on top of the safety car. That will be the warning to Andreas Koenig that the safety car will come in. Drivers behind that are going to be very lively are Zoe Skrimpias and Eric Chung, I would suggest.
That is probably as good a bad as you can have at this stage. It is really going to be tense, and everybody, all of the drivers will be super eager to get going.
Yes.
And it's going to be Andreas Koenig who will determine when he will go.
Yes.
Once the safety car peels off. And he will make that call and make that decision. And it could be a race-winning decision if he nails it and if he can catch Zoe Skrimpias napping. But that's not something a lot of people have done in their careers.
That's a very fair point. There's Paolo Scudieri, who is running P8 at the moment. He's got Stephen Earle ahead of him, Talal Shaher behind. So Andreas Koenig then weaving from side to side to generate some temperature into those Pirelli tyres for the final stage of this race, which will be a 1-lap dash for cash. Now, once Andreas Koenig makes his decision to go for it and accelerate, he has to stay accelerated. You cannot increase, decrease your speed. He goes. Zoe Skrimpias, I think, anticipated it really rather well. So we get ready. And that's how well Zoe Skrimpias anticipated it. He's virtually with the car of Andreas Koenig, and the top two have broken away from Eric Chung a bit. And Zoe Skrimpias is going to have a go here. Eric Chung has had a mare of a restart because he has got Andrea Levy run alongside him. Zoe Skrimpias takes a look to the inside. Andreas Koenig has got the outside line, is able to carry a bit more speed through turn number 1. And Zoe Skrimpias is denied for the moment, but Zoe Skrimpias is really having a go here. Look at these two, they are way ahead of the rest of the pack, and Eric Chung has got himself back into where he needs to be in terms of that P3 position, but he's got Andrea Levy right behind him, and we know how quick Andrea Levy is. So Eric Chung defending from Andrea Levy, Andreas Koenig trying to make his car wider than Zoe Skrimpias would like it to be. Zoe Skrimpias coming downhill. Someone has gone off. Is that Eric Chung that's gone off into the gravel? I didn't quite see.
Eric Chung did go off, and I think he was able to rejoin, but he certainly went through the gravel, and we will see that definitely Andrea Levy is in P3, and Eric Chung has dropped down the order. He's dropped down the order.
What a shame.
We are focusing on our leaders. It's not done
by any means. Andreas Koenig, for the moment, is holding on to this P1 position ahead of Zoe Skrimpias. Cool, calm and collected, that's what he needs to be. Zoe Skrimpias, of course, is doing everything he can to unseat and unsettle Andreas Koenig. They've got the very technical part of the track to come, which includes that chicane where it's very easy to get it wrong. And this is the chicane that I'm talking about. So Zoe Skrimpias right on him. Andrea Levy running in P3. Andreas Koenig leading. There is team boss of Go Motorsport Haupt Racing Team, Manuel Reuter, looking on. Zoe Skrimpias now tries to find a way around the outside. Will he get a slingshot to the inside? Is it going to be a drag race all the way to the checkered flag? Well, best efforts from Zoe Skrimpias, but he loses the back end of the car as he accelerates, and Andreas Koenig wins from Zoe Skrimpias, and Andrea Levy takes P3. Elsewhere, there's still plenty going on in this Ferrari challenge, as Guy Favet was almost running on the grass, and Lisa Clark makes up a place right at the end of the race as well. What a brilliant race, made ever more dramatic by the safety car right at the end of the race. I'm going for a lie down. Bye.
Well, if we needed drama, that last lap certainly did deliver. The big loser, of course, Eric Chung, because he went into the gravel and he did not recover, and that drops him from a podium position, P3, all the way down into P17, and probably we'll get a replay, and thank you guys, there it is. Runs just a little bit wide, maybe the tire not fully up to temperature following the safety car, and just can't hold it together. At first, from glimpse, I thought he would be able to continue, get it back onto the track, and he does, but something apparently broke with running rallycross style over the gravel, and such a disappointment. And I'm sure Andreas Koenig is happy that was only one lap after the safety car, because it felt like Zoe Scrimpias needed, he needed 3 more meters, it felt like, and you called it absolutely correctly. They were set to have that drag race to the finish line, then Zoe just couldn't quite hold on to it and get the throttle onto the road.
I think if he'd had just a little bit more temperature in the tyres and they'd held on at the back, it would have been a drag race. But what was really, really nice to see was Zoe Scrimpias pulled alongside Andreas Koenig as they'd crossed the line, and they both waved to each other. There's healthy respect between them, and that's wonderful to see. And it's typical of the spirit that's in the Ferrari Challenge, it has to be said, throughout all of the categories. Wow. I think we've had some really, really enjoyable racing today. Been plenty of drama.
Yeah, definitely to both of them. Are you not entertained? Is what the Ferrari Challenge is calling to you. And what a weekend. I mean, it's been hot, but it's been fair, it's been fierce, it's been hugely entertaining, and the Coppa Chalam really, really have delivered 2 magnificent races. 2 truly magnificent races to cap off the day and cap off the weekend. And Andreas Koenig, he already has a season's worth of stories to tell.
Yeah.
And we're only through event number 3, so there is 4 more to do. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure Manuel Reuter, who has seen quite a lot of things in his racing career.
And has done a lot of things in his racing career, hasn't he, Nico?
Indeed, and he can write a new chapter to that. And you could see how tense even he was.
Yes. Yes, actually, he's generally speaking, he's the voice of calm and reason, isn't he? But yes, you're right. Oh, what a race! Well done, Andreas Koenig. Congratulations. He's congratulated by the entire team. I met Andreas's wife yesterday, Mrs. Koenig. She's, by her own admission, something of a fan of ours.
Well, that's very kind. She should also be, and I'm sure she will be, a huge fan of
I think so.
her husband's. There are still conversations and discussions with Andrea Levy, and I don't know what scene they are discussing, but he certainly feels like...
There's Manuel Reuter. Sorry to interrupt you, Nico, but I just saw the back end of him.
And he will go to Zoe Scrimpias, who...
Alexander Nussbaum are making congratulations as well. Of course, he is a teammate, albeit he drives in a different category.
Yeah. Oh.
Fantastic. There's Andrea Levy. And there is Mrs. Koenig. Stephanie. I hope I've got that right. You know my memory, Nico. It's not brilliant by any means.
Oh, your fan club just has a 1-member viewer, so probably it was wrong. I'm sure it was correct.
I think I might be wrong. So lots of discussions going on. Still discussions going on. Grazie. I have to say, for being so hot, Andrea Levy actually looks Looks pretty cool, doesn't he? You know.
Yeah, no. I mean, they really take their racecraft seriously, and they are prepared, and they were prepared for the heat. And we will get an interview, and we will hear how it was for Andreas Koenig in but a few moments. I think elation will be part of the emotional landscape.
Oh, let's discover. We're going to hear from Andreas Koenig.
Congratulations! You celebrate with your owner and with your colleague here at the race. Today was a very tough and hot race for you and for all the other drivers, but you managed the car and the tires in the perfect way. So this is a very important result for you.
So first of all, thanks. Yeah, 40 degrees is really hot, and I try to stay calm. I tried not to overstress the tires at the beginning, and then I tried to get closer. The first safety car helped me. Second one really distracted me, so I felt that the tires are going slow now, but I'm so happy I won. It was a tough race, and all the other twos were just fighting hard. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Big thumbs up from Andreas Koenig. Let's enjoy the highlights now. And there the highlights, accompanied by something from My Hits album. Andreas Koenig, P1, Zois Skrimpias, P2, Andrea Levy, P3, Shintaro Akatsu and Stephen Earl, P4 and P5, Mutlu Tazev, P6, Paolo Scudieri, good finish, P7. And then the rest of the order that you can see there on the screen, including Tal Alcher and Roland Hertner and Guy Favet and Maurizio Pittori and Hassan Debussy, Lisa Clark and Henrik Kamstrup, to name but a few, ahead of Louis Peruskia, Eric Chung, Jan Salmon, Josef Schumacher and Franz Kevitz will be disappointed with how it ended up in the end, which is a great shame for those drivers. Heading up to the podium next, where Michele Mambelli will be in charge of all the presentations and bringing the drivers out on track. For P3, here comes Andrea Levy. Zois Skrimpias then P2.
And the winner is
To say his celebrations are exuberant.
For a moment I was worried he'd jump the railing.
Il nostro applauso, our claps for the winners on the podium, near the podium, team manager, Go Motorsport, Nova Racing. Okay.
So, Go Motorsport, Haupt Racing Team represented on the podium as well, as you would expect. And FEA, the Ferrari factory driver, making the trophy presentations. Big thank you to him for joining us on the air earlier on this afternoon. Doing a fantastic job for us. Zois Grimpias receives his P2 trophy. Andrea Levy has received his P3 trophy. That means there's just the race winner's trophy to come, and that will be for Andreas Koenig. Yes, he is pretty happy with that. Coppa Team's trophy will be awarded to Go Motorsport Haupt Racing Team as well.
And team manager
all on the top step of the podium, please.
The podium together, please. And for driver, lift your trophy. Okay.
There they are, the top three
Jerez,
in Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell Am.
And drivers wait in this moment. Ife
legs it.
Podium.
Who's going to be quickest with the
Please,
champagne? Are we going to see? Oh, it's Zois Grimpias. By far and away. So the top three then for Rosso, Corsa, Andrea Levy then takes that 171 car to P3. Nico Repata Corsa Ram. And their driver, Zois Grimpias, P2. And for Go Motorsport and the Haupt Racing Team, well done, Andreas Koenig, race winner. Let's take a look at the Drivers' Championship standings then as we head to our next round, which is in Portimao in just a couple of weeks' time. Well, Hendrik Viol still, as we looked at the wrong championship standings, so Grimpias still in the lead. Andreas Koenig, then it's Andrea Levy and Eric Chung and Paolo Scudieri. That's the way the Drivers' Championship looks as we head off to Portimao then. It's not a long way away from here, to be honest, Nico. Not that I would want to cycle it necessarily.
Oh, well, in 10 days we could do it. But it was a really, really great weekend here, and we look forward to the same in just a few weeks' time.
From Nico, from myself, from the entire production team, to whom we offer our thanks. Thank you so much for watching. We've had a brilliant weekend. It's been a blast here at the Jerez circuit in Spain. Thank you to everyone, and we look forward to seeing you in Portugal. Bye-bye for now.